A Doll's House, Act 3, next scene, Nora, Helmer, Miss Lind, and Dr. Rank. Nora, hanging back in the doorway and struggling with him. No, no, no. Don't take me in. I want to go upstairs again. I don't want to leave so early. But my dearest Nora, please, Torvald dear, please, please, only an hour more. Not a single minute, my sweet Nora. You know that was our agreement. Come along into the room. You are catching cold standing there. He brings her gently into the room in spite of her resistance. Miss Lind. Good evening. Christine! You here? So late, Miss Lind? Yes, you must excuse me. I was so anxious to see Nora in her dress. Have you been sitting here waiting for me? Yes, unfortunately, I came too late. You had already gone upstairs, and I thought I couldn't go away again without having seen you. Taking off Nora's shawl. Yes, take a good look at her. I think she is worth looking at. Isn't she charming, Miss Lind? Yes, indeed she is. Doesn't she look remarkably pretty? Everyone thought so at the dance. But she is terribly self-willed, this sweet little person. What are we going to do with her? You will hardly believe that I had almost to bring her away by force. Torvald, you will repent not having let me stay, even if it were for only half an hour. Listen to her, Miss Lind. She had danced her tarantella, and it had been a tremendous success, as it deserved, although possibly the performance was a trifle too realistic. A little more so, I mean, than the strictly compatible with the limitations of art. But never mind about that. The chief thing is, she had made a success. She had made a tremendous success. Do you think I was going to let her remain there after that and spoil the effect? No, indeed. I took my charming little Capri maiden, my capricious little Capri maiden, I should say, on one arm, took one quick turn around the room, a curtsy on either side, and as they say in novels, the beautiful apparition disappeared. An exit ought always to be effective, Miss Lind, but that is what I cannot make Nora understand. Pooh, this room is hot. Throws his domino on a chair and opens the door of his room. Hello, it's all dark in here. Oh, of course, excuse me. He goes in and lights some candles. In a hurried and breathless whisper. Well? I've had a talk with him. Yes, and? Nora, you must tell your husband all about it. In a expressionless voice. I knew it. You have nothing to be afraid of as far as Krogstad is concerned, but you must tell him. I won't tell him. The letter will. Thank you, Christine. Now I know what I must do. Hush. Helmer coming in again. Well, Miss Lind, have you admired her? Yes, and now I will say good night. What? Already? Is this yours, this knitting? Yes, thank you. I've nearly forgotten it. So you knit? Of course. Do you know, you ought to embroider. Really? Why? Yes, it's far more becoming. Let me show you. You hold the embroidery thus in your left hand and use the needle with the right, like this, with a long, easy sweep. Do you see? Yes, perhaps. But in the case of knitting, that can never be anything but ungraceful. Look here. The arms close together, the knitting needles going up and down. It has a sort of Chinese effect. That was really excellent champagne they gave us. Well, good night, Nora, and don't be self-willed anymore. That's right, Miss Lind. Good night, Mr. Helmer. Helmer, accompanying her to the door. Good night, good night. I hope you will get home all right. I should be very happy too, but haven't any distance to go. Good night, good night. She goes out. He shuts the door after her and comes in again. Ah, at last. We have got rid of her. She's a frightful bore, that woman. Aren't you very tired, Torvald? No, not in the least. Nor sleepy? Not a bit. On the contrary, I feel extraordinarily lively. And you? You look really both tired and sleepy. Yes, I'm very tired. I want to go to sleep at once. There, you see, it was quite right of me not to let you stay there any longer. Everything you do is quite right, Torvald, kissing her on the forehead. Now my little skylark is speaking reasonably. Did you notice what good spirits Rank was in this evening? Really? Was he? I didn't speak to him at all. And I did very little, but I have not for a long time seen him in such a good form. Looks for a while at her and then goes nearer to her. It is delightful to be at home by ourselves again, to be all alone with you, you fascinating, charming little darling. Don't look at me like that, Torvald. Why shouldn't I look at my dearest treasure, at all the beauty that is mine, all my very own? Going to the other side of the table. You mustn't say things like that to me tonight. Helmer following her. You you have still got the tarantella in your blood, I see, and it makes you more captivating than ever. Listen, the guests are beginning to go now. Nora, soon the whole house will be quiet. Yes, I hope so. Yes, my own darling Nora. Do you know, when I am out at a party with you like this, why I speak so little to you? Keep away from you, and only send a stolen glance in your direction now and then? Do you know why I do that? It is because I believe to myself that we are secretly in love, and you are secretly promised bride, and that no one suspects there is anything between us. Yes, yes, I know very well your thoughts are with me all the time. And when we are leaving, I am putting the shawl over your beautiful young shoulders, on your lovely neck, that I imagine that you are my young bride and that we have come from the wedding, and I am bringing you for the first time into our house, to be alone with you for the first time, quite alone with my shy little darling. All this evening I have longed for nothing but you. When I watched the seductive figures of the tarantella, my blood was on fire. I could endure it no longer, and that was why I brought you down so dearly. Go away, Torvald. You must let me go. I won't. What's that? You're joking, little Nora. You won't. You won't. Am I not your husband? A knock is heard at the outer door. Did you hear? Who is it? It is I. May I come in for a moment? In a fretful whisper, oh, what does he want now? Aloud, wait a moment. Unlocks the door. Come, that's kind of you to not pass by our door. Dr. Rank, I thought I heard your voice, and felt as if I should like to look in, with a swift glance around. Ah, yes, these dear familiar rooms. You are very happy and cozy in here, you two? It seems to me that you looked after yourself pretty well upstairs, too. Excellently. Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't one enjoy everything in the world? At any rate, as much as one can, for as long as one can. The wine was capital. Yes, especially the champagne. So you noticed that too? It is almost incredible how much I managed to put away. Torvald drank a great deal of champagne tonight too. Did he? Yes, and he is always in such good spirits afterwards. Well, why should one not enjoy a merry evening after a well-spent day? Well spent? I'm afraid I can't take credit for that. Rank clapping him on the back. But I can, you know. Dr. Rank, you must have been occupied with some scientific investigations today. Exactly. Just listen. Little Nora talking about scientific investigations. And may I congratulate you on the result? Indeed you may. Was it favorable then? The best possible for both doctor and patient certainty. Quickly and searchingly, Certainty? Absolute certainty. So wasn't I entitled to make a merry evening of it after that? Yes, you certainly were, Dr. Rank. I think so long as you don't have to pay for it in the morning. Oh well, one can't have everything in his life without paying for it. Dr. Rank, are you fond of fancy balls? Yes, if there is a fine lot of costumes. Tell me, what shall we two wear at the next? Little Featherbrain, are you thinking of the next already? We two? Yes, I can tell you. You shall go as a good fairy. Yes, but what do you suggest as an appropriate costume for that? Let your wife go dressed just as she is in everyday life. That was really very prettily turned. But can you tell us what you will be? Yes, my dear friend, I have quite made up my mind about that. Well, at the next fancy ball, I shall be invisible. That's a good joke. There is a big black hat. Have you never heard of hats that make you invisible? If you put one on, no one can see you. Suppressing a smile. Yes, you are quite right, but I am clean forgetting what I came for. Helmer, give me a cigar, one of the dark Havanas. With great pleasure. He offers him his case. Rank takes the cigar and cuts off the end. Thanks. Striking a match. Let me give you a light. Thank you. He holds the match for him to light his cigar. And now, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, dear old man. Sleep well, Dr. Rank. Thank you for that wish. Wish me the same. You? Well, if you want me to sleep well, and thanks for the light. He nods to them both and goes out. Helmer in a subdued voice. He has drunk more than he thought. Maybe. Helmer takes a bunch of keys out of his pocket and goes into the hall. Torvald, what are you going to do there? Emptying the letterbox. It is quite full. There will be no room to put newspaper in tomorrow morning. Are you going to work tonight? You know quite well I'm not. What is this? Someone has been at the lock. At the lock? Yes, someone has. What can it mean? I should never have thought the maid. Here is a broken hairpin? Nora, it is one of yours. Quickly, then it must have been the children. Then you must get them out of those ways. There, at last, I have got it open. Takes out the contents of the letterbox and calls to the kitchen. Helen, put out the light over the front door. He goes back into the room and shuts the door into the hall. He holds out his hands full of letters. Look at that. Look what a heap of them there are. Turning them over. What on earth is that? Nora at the window. The letter! The letter! No, Torvald, no. 2 cards of Ranks. Of Dr. Rank? Looking at him. Dr. Rank! They were on the top. He must have put them in when we were out. Is there anything written on them? There's a black cross over the name. Look there. What an uncomfortable idea. It looks as if he were announcing his own death. It is just what he is doing. What? Do you know anything about it? Has he said anything to you? Yes, he told me when the cards came it would be his leaving taking to us. He means to shut himself up and die. My poor old friend! Certainly, I knew we should not have him very long with us, but so soon? And so he hides himself away like a wounded animal. If it has to happen, it is best it should be without a word. Don't you think so, Torvald? Walking up and down, he had grown so into our lives. I can't think of him as having gone out of them. He, with his sufferings and his loneliness, was like a cloudy background to our sunlit happiness. Well, it is best so, for him now anyway. And perhaps for us too, Nora? We two are thrown quite upon each other now, puts his arm round her. My darling wife, I don't feel as if I could hold you tight enough. Do you know, Nora? I've often wished that you might be threatened by some great danger so that I might risk my life's blood and everything for your sake. Nora disengages herself and says firmly and decidedly, Now you must read your letters, Torvald. No, not tonight. I want to be with you, my darling wife. With the thought of your friend's death? You are right. It has affected us both. Something ugly has come between us. The thought of the horror of death. We must try and rid our minds of that. Until then, we will go to our own room. Hanging on his neck. Good night, Torvald. Good night. Kissing her on the forehead. Good night, my sweet little singing bird. Sleep sound, Nora. Now I will read through my letters. He takes his letters and goes into his room, shutting the door after him. Nora, distractedly about, seizes Helmer's domino, throws it round her, plays while she says quick, hoarse, spasmodic whispers, never to see him again. Never. She puts her shawl over her shoulders. Never to see my children again either. Never, never. Ah, the icy black water, the unfathomable depths. If only it were over. He has got to know. Now he is reading it. Goodbye, Torvald and my children. She is about to rush out through the hall when Helmer opens his door hurriedly and stands with an open letter in his hand. Nora! Ah, what is this? Do you know what is in this letter? Yes, I know. Let me go. Let me get out. Holding her back. Where are you going? You shan't save me, Torvald. True? Is this true that I read here? Horrible. No, it is impossible that it can be true. It is true. I have loved you above everything else in the world. Oh, don't let us have any silly excuses. Torvald, miserable creature, what have you done? Let me go. You shall not suffer for my sake. You shall not take it upon yourself. No tragic airs, please. Here you shall stay and give me an explanation. Do you understand what you have done? Answer me. Do you understand what you have done? Looks steadily at him and says with a growing look of coldness in her face, Yes, now I am beginning to understand quite thoroughly.